So I never got your name.
Gaia Abraxas.
Gaia Abraxas.
My last name, Abraxas.
You mentioned you have a degree in Jungian psychology.
Yep.
Can you tell us what that is?
Okay, so I just got my doctorate in Jungian psychology and archetypes, which is a scholarly degree in the history and nature of Jungian psychology, and also particularly related to the archetypal aspect, which is the collective unconscious, the instinctual layer of human activity and thought and feeling, which we all share. So as an artist, I was very interested in that because I work from my dreams largely in my artwork. And so I really needed to develop a better understanding and vocabulary for talking about my own work. And I ended up focusing in on the psychology of the creative process in my dissertation. So my dissertation is called Intention and Spontaneity, Authenticity and the Creative Process. And I was essentially looking to understand how the creative process works psychologically, but specifically from a Jungian lens. What about Jung's own psychology and his artist complex? It distorts the lens of how we look at artists through in Jungian psychology, and as it turns out, in the culture at large. So I found myself studying Kant, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Schiller, and also the kind of early 20th century art historians and critics to try and understand better the sort of tacit messages that I had received as an artist from, time immemorial in my life anyway. I had this picture of what an artist is, what an art career is, and it was vague, it was muddy, it was impossible to fully understand what my course should
Outside
be.
of advertising.
Outside of advertising.
Yeah.
And of course, even that's vexed, because if you go with advertising or illustration, then you're not a real artist, When I was in art school, my teachers were all abstract expressionists. So being representational was viewed as a kind of a sellout. And, it's a pretty unique profession when you are in a situation where if you make money at your work, you're either selling out because you are selling your artwork to the person who commissions it in a commercial environment, or you're not selling out because you're selling your art to a rich person who's actually just using it as an investment. And there's even having a price tag attached to something as personal and as culturally significant as art is problematic. If I were, a person living in an indigenous culture where art was recognized fully for its healing potentials, then there would be no value attached to the art as a commodity. Instead, the value would be attached to two things. One is the skill of the shaman in creating the work that had its healing properties, and the other is the person who was being healed. The artwork itself would be seen as a magic spell holding an energetic principle, so that the community could focus on that, and as a group manifest a healing energy for the person who was being taken care of. And so there is no point in that process where the artwork is commodified, where there's money involved. It's literally an act of community healing that's being carried out on behalf of a person. And you might be interested to know that the Navajo, who still utilize these sand painting ceremonies for healing, claim a 95% recovery rate for schizophrenia.
How about that? Interesting.
It's not even believable. It's just like
I've absolutely used art as a healing method for many things.
Yeah. So, artwork is something that's part of our human legacy and heritage, and like everything, it's been capitalized. But by studying Jung and the creative process, I was really focusing on the healing aspects of it.
Banksy was the ultimate. Whenever he shredded
Yes.
his painting, it's like
Yes.
then it became more valuable.
I know, isn't that ironic? It's funny how that is.
Banksy punches, he gets punched back.
Yeah, right.
So you paint from, or you draw from your dreams.
That's true.
Yeah, I heard you earlier talking to another person about, is it your son? You have your son who can't visualize images to draw.
Yeah, he's got aphantasia, which means he doesn't have a visual memory. He has memory, very accurate memory, but it doesn't include visual images, except for his dreams, which is not uncommon for people who are aphantasic. And so he told me that, first of all, he's in his 40s and he never realized that isn't how everybody's brain works until an article came out in the Times this past year talking about it. But he says when he's drawing, he sees movement and motions, and so he draws the movement first, and then out of that movement an image materializes on the page, and then he can
Interesting, because like a
utilize
2D
that.
work is like stagnant, there can't be movement. Like
It's static, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's attempting to capture a moment.
But the act of drawing it is a movement.
No, absolutely.
So,
most of my artwork has been from life.
right. Yeah.
And when I try to draw from images from my head, I fail pretty bad.
But drawing from my dreams is a way of taking images that are directly, available to me at the moment, especially if I'm doing it immediately after I had the dream. That's really helpful. But as long as I record the dream, if it's a really big dream, then I tend to remember it pretty vividly in my imagination, and I can reconstruct what I saw.
I'm sure the process is fun. And interesting.
But I haven't really tried to do, say, a really detailed comic. For example, I do comics, but mostly my platform for that is World War III Illustrated magazine, which is a social justice comic. So when I'm doing comics, I'm doing in the context
Did you say World War III?
World War III Illustrated, yeah.
Oh.
It's a social justice comic anthology that's been published by a collective since 1980 out of New York City, although we publish artists from all over the world. And so the concept is really to give voice to people who don't have a voice in the mainstream media, people's own stories, and including those of artists. For example, we have an artist who spent a lot of time interviewing people and drawing people in Rikers, and families and children who were actually living in Rikers prison in New York. And I did a piece about the women of Rojava, the women warriors of Rojava, and what the history was behind that movement in the Middle East and Syria. So it can be a political issue, it can be a social issue, it can be about, we have usually a different theme for each issue. The next issue that I'm working on is on education, which makes sense since I'm a professor. But I'm going to probably be focusing in on the trans experience and trans rights,